Power 98.7, progressively elevating the conversation. Now we're talking.
Okay, let's move it along. We are now into winter. I'm not even sure when officially winter starts, but as long as we're in June, it's winter for me. So, yeah, winter is here, which means as well, it is soon to be the opening of the winter initiation school season. This ritual, of course, or a rite of passage, marks a transition to adulthood for many young men across the country. It is a traditional practice that is still practiced widely in South Africa, but for the most part, in the Eastern Cape, it's where it is, in parts of the Eastern Cape, it is where it is still most widely practiced, but certainly not unique to that part of the world. In Limpopo as well, it is still something that is practiced, even amongst the Basotho. They still do the, koho babuaka koma, and that sort of thing, huwa koming, and that sort of thing. But unfortunately, this time of the year is also unfortunately synonymous with headlines about deaths of young initiates and various of other safety issues around initiates that go to some of these bogus, as they've been termed, bogus initiation schools. Well, since 1995, estimates are that hundreds of young Xhosa men have died due to complications related to some of these initiation rites that are performed. Those that don't die, you also have many cases that have been presented in hospitals of botched circumcisions that in some drastic cases result in a need for amputation. Now, so this is still something that can be called would be called a health risk or even a health emergency. But of course, the trouble here is where you have the intersection of religion, traditional practices, and the law, where modernity meets traditional practices as well. You are bound to have clashes and disagreements of opinion. Well, let's have this conversation then, shall we? And I'm joined today, my guests on the line are the Contralesa Eastern Cape chairperson, Chief Muelo Nonkonyana, joining us on the line. Zememvula.
Oh, good evening to you, sir.
How are you, sir?
Man, you must be accredited, given some knighthood in reality.
I must get an honorary title. Thank you so much, Chief, and welcome. Good to have you with us.
Pleasure as always, my brother.
All right, let me also welcome on the line Dr. Abel Tlailani, who is a general practitioner. Dr. Tlailani, good evening to you as well, and thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, Thabiso. I hope you don't mind if I call you Titi. I'm used to listening to you.
Oh, absolutely.
You move, you see.
Absolutely, you may do so. Call me Titi until I receive my title from Chief Nonkonyana. And then you'll have to call me by my new title.
I hope I'm coming out loudly clear now.
Yes, that will do for now. But if you happen to be you sound like you're on speaker. If you are on speaker, please, it would sound even better if you were just speaking direct into the phone.
Okay, I will do so.
All right. Okay, let me start with you, Chief Nonkonyana. This is an annual conversation that we have, and sadly, I feel like we are not making progress. Or perhaps that is my perception, is that we're having the same conversation on an annual basis. As traditional leaders, how do you feel about the progress that is being made in trying to ensure that this sacred tradition, the sacred rituals, are not on an annual basis being tarnished by reports of deaths, or reports of mutilations, and just general bad, reportage or bad news that are reported around the practice of this, initiation schools. Where are you as Contralesa? Let me ask you to where your head is the head of Contralesa, and of course, at the same time, your head is Inkosi.
Well, thank you, Thabiso. First and foremost, I think myself, and particularly the president of our organization, Jose Mukwena, and many other progressive traditional leaders all over South Africa, in every province, for quite some time now, have been saying one and the same thing. We don't know which language to use. We don't know what must we do. Let me tell you, as far back as 1996, and in fact, this thing started in 1994 during the advent of democracy, because the people then decided to do as they please under the Nyova campaign. And they defied all authority, including the authority of traditional leaders in South Africa. But we stood up at the Congress of Traditional Leaders because we have been part of the liberation movement to inculcate in the mind of everyone who was actually attacking the institution, including this revered custom of initiation of boys to manhood, that this must be protected, this must be promoted at all costs. No custom can beget any injury, let alone death. Clearly, that there's death, it clearly means there's something wrong. But we then decided to stood up ourselves as traditional leaders, particularly in the Eastern Cape. Fortunately, in 1996 now, when the House of Traditional Leaders was established for the first time, I had an honor to chair it, and Nkosi Olomisa was part of that house, together, of course, with the Deputy Minister Namashe. And we then decided to establish a commission headed by Nkosi Olomisa to find out exactly why and is this happening. What are the causes? They must bring their findings and recommendations. The findings are what we all know, and that people were doing as they please, undermining the customary rules that are there. In terms of the custom, essentially, this custom belong to royalty, traditional leadership. And in the olden days, no young boy would go for initiation if there is no prince or man from royal family. And then the councillors and everybody will make sure that everything would be done in accordance with custom. In many other areas in South Africa now, it continues to exist. For instance, last year, Osum Kudlo's son was undergoing this custom in Kofimbaba. And then we went there, and 30 with the prince, all of them, they were undergoing this initiation in terms of tradition, and they came up all alive, not only alive, but also men with the name. So, and ever since then, unfortunately, after our recommendation, we then submitted our report to the government in the Eastern Cape, but the government then decided to take over this revered custom of ours and entrusted it to an MEC, and whether it is initiated or not. As you may know, no one can preach without being actually groomed to preach. And clearly, you cannot, therefore, administer initiation when you yourself you have not undergone initiation. It's a taboo, and it's going to beget many other things. That is why, therefore, we have been very consistent as Contralesa ever since then. That government please restore powers and functions. Government please return this custom to where it belongs. And we and our people are able and capable of doing this thing, and we demonstrated, as I've told you, I've just tried to summarize. Many people will then tell you that they have no problem. But the government, and instead of doing that, decided no to promote the national medical circumcision in the country. They gave them in some other years 20 million to promote that, and but you can ask them, how much did they actually provide or budgeted for the initiation? Nothing. And then we have been really banging the door of our government, and of course in the Eastern Cape, we must say, we did receive some reception positive after that, because the government in the Eastern Cape in 2016 decided to enact a legislation then and empowering the House of Traditional Leaders for the first time, assisted by what we call Provincial Initiation Coordinating Committee that was chaired by the chairperson of the House of Traditional Leaders, and together with the MECs that are responsible, MEC for Safety and Security, for COCTA, and for Health, everybody. They were actually part of that Provincial Initiation Coordinating Committee, among other stakeholders. And in 2016, there was drastic reduction. Clearly, that was actually signaling that this were now on the way to deal with that. We then said it must be then dovetailed to traditional leaders themselves. But what happened? The national came in and then have the initiation where there's New York now, and decided no, the premiers and the MECs are now in charge. Now we're boys to those men. And all premiers, whether they're initiated or not, and we're told that we must actually toe their line. And clearly, in terms of custom, we can't do that. And we know that it is a taboo. We know that it's going to beget some problems. Hence, we keep on doing this. We are then in national indaba with our government, as well as the CRL Commission. And I thought that we were actually coming together. But it seems we are not coming together. Hence, we are concerned, and I was one who was saying last year that let there be a moratorium for 2 years so that at least we and our government and our people, all structures, can actually meet, because to have one initiate dying is a problem. Right. And I did not tell you what is actually happening, because in one incident in the OR Tambo, boys having taken the only boy of that family decided to take to the mother in a wheelbarrow. You can imagine the reaction of that really woman who has actually taken a lot to carry that boy 9 months, and after that for 18 years bringing him to be a man of tomorrow, and then he was going to be delivered in that fashion. Clearly, we will continue therefore to bang the door and until we are listened to. Sorry, I was long, and I should have been short, but I thought it is important to set out this background.
Fair enough, and I think you have done that quite in some necessary detail, I think. But let me ask you this, and I can hear that this is something that obviously does not sit well with you as traditional leaders, is the involvement of government in practices that you believe should be the domain of traditional leaders. However, is it not the case? It seems to me that it is unavoidable for government to get involved, because inevitably, when things go wrong, government is dragged into these things, whether it be the case of, people that are operating initiation schools illegally, whether it's someone that dies at one of these initiation schools, then it does become the state's problem. Or when young boys end up in hospital because they've been mutilated by bogus practitioners, then it does become a government's problem. Because, as you know, as a lawyer yourself, Chief, that government's primary responsibility is the well-being of its people, and people cannot die while government stands by and watches.
Thabiso, government is ours. We respect them. Those people that were put in power have been voted by us and our people. We respect them too much. Hence the intervention of the government, we welcome it. All that we don't welcome is that they should not take over. For instance, the doctors, they've got their council that is actually dealing with their own thing. Is the government leading there? No. And but the government is actually should give resources. That's where we are. All we're saying if the government can give us this responsibility, restore our powers and give us the resources and things like that, and work with them, we have no problem. Hence, of course, with police, we're working with them very well in the Eastern Cape, and with our government in the Eastern Cape, we're working very, very well. And but all we are against is that we should be led on this matter. We need to lead and be accountable. Yes, if within the area of jurisdiction of Bala Traditional Authority that I'm in charge of, there's death or things like that, I must be accountable. I must be responsible. Because as a responsible leader, this is what should be entrusted into. That is why we're saying, let us, in fact, what we're doing is that if there is any circumcision lodge in Buma that is actually set up without our knowledge, I do issue a decree that it must be dismantled within my own area. Hence, for 10 years now, I have zero death. But I'm not alone. There are many others because they know that I'm strict within my own area of jurisdiction, but they go to other areas. And because we're not the same, and then naturally these ragamuffins, they take chances. They're even taking some people to those areas where they feel that the circumcision lodge will not be dismantled. That is why, therefore, we have vowed as Contralesa that in all areas where Contralesa members are in charge, and they must make sure that the boys, then they go there and obey custom. Yes, they obey laws of the Republic of South Africa, and we must work with police, with our own government to make sure that no death, no injury happens, because this is tainting not only the image of those of our custom, but our own image as traditional leaders, as kings and traditional leaders in the country is on the line precisely because of this. That is why we have vowed, and our president has issued a clear instruction that all of us we must be very vigilant. Fortunately, in the Eastern Cape, we are going to focus on the coastal areas, because the one in Maloti Mountains and things like that, in terms of their custom, they follow the custom strictly, and there will be no initiation during this time of winter, but they will only do that during summer, which is good. And there you can see that the people and traditional leaders are in charge. And there's no question about it. But along the coast, it looks like there's every Tom, Dick, and Harry do as he or she pleases sometimes. And,
let me understand this. Let me understand this. By the way, just to those who are just joining us, I am chatting to the Contralesa's Eastern Cape chairperson, Nkosi Mwelo Nonkanyana, and we are talking about initiation season. Which, there's two by all accounts, but now I'm beginning to doubt even that information now, Nonkoyana, based on what you've just said about the winter initiation season. Are there in fact two or one? Is there one season that traditionally is when these initiation schools are supposed to take place? Can you just put us right on that one?
Okay. In mountainous areas, climate does not allow them to have initiation school during winter. All those boys will die. And from time immemorial, and it is known that there will be no initiation school, for instance, in Jolgari and Maluti areas within the Eastern Cape. That is why we're saying at Contralesa, let us differentiate. And again here, during summer, those areas along the coast, it is hot and humid. Hence, you found that, in fact, the death is caused mainly by dehydration. And if you have seen them, you see that they are covered with plastic sometimes. And yet, in terms of our custom, we use grass and things like that, because when you have got grass, and it is really very conducive. But there is this thing that is actually happening because of the climate conditions. Hence, Contralesa were very, very strong to say, well, let us ban this thing along the coast during summer. But in winter, let's do that. But in winter, we've got another problem, which we engage nationally with the government when Kata Asman was still a minister of education. And we agreed with him that there is a problem with winter vacation period, because we needed at least 4 weeks in the minimum to have a proper initiation of boys to manhood. And we agreed traditionally that nationally along those things, along those lines. But unfortunately, you can see your calendar now, and it cannot be 4 weeks during that. Hence, then there is this flood, mainly during summer, because in summer you have got enough time. But unfortunately, because of climate conditions, those that are along the coast in the Eastern Cape are sure to die. We have a problem in dehydration, and there's an issue of water and things like that you have heard. And our ministers have been actually clamoring on this, that they must be provided with water. We know the dynamics in terms of custom along those lines, but we accepted that they must be actually checked, these boys, before they undergo initiation by the doctors. But we insisted that during initiation in the mountains, all doctors that we needed there are those that are initiated. We don't want doctors that are not initiated there at all, even men.
When you say those are initiated, you mean those who have been through the traditional initiation themselves?
Indeed.
Right.
If you have been in hospital, you are not part of us.
So if that's the case, then okay, let me do this, because and then I want to bring in Dr. Abel Tlailane as well. Our guests this evening, Dr. Abel Tlailane is a general practitioner. We'll talk to him in a moment about the medical side of things. But I've been talking to Nkosi Mwelo Nonkonyana, who is the Contralesa chair of in the Eastern Cape. We'll carry on with our discussion. This is the Power Perspective.
Power Perspective with TT, Monday to Thursday, 8 p.m. to midnight.
Well, the winter circumcision season is, or initiation season, I shouldn't say circumcision season, there's no such thing. The initiation season is upon us. This is when initiates around the country will go off to, have this rite of passage that they undergo. Well, of course, unfortunately, over the years, this has always been a period also synonymous with all kinds of negative headlines about deaths of young initiates. My guests are Dr. Abel Tlailane, who I'll get to in a moment, but we've also been talking to Chief Mwelo Nonkonyana, who is the Eastern Cape chairperson of Contralesa. Nonkonyana, just coming back to you, we just touched on something just before we took the break about, the, let's call them Western doctors, for lack of a better term. I'm not sure what is a correct way of describing the, those type of doctors. But you say they are not allowed to participate in these these rituals or to be part of this initiation schools and so forth, unless they themselves have been through it. Just talk to me about the role that is played by medical practitioners of any sort today in the initiation process.
Yeah, thank you very much. As far back as 1996, we discussed this matter, and we agreed then that first of all, pre-screening, they can go to any other doctor. But when they undergo initiation, they are at the initiation lodge, Ibuma, and then, of course, there must be monitoring. We needed to have doctors. Fortunately, in the Eastern Cape, were no such challenges because many doctors themselves are product of initiation in terms of tradition. So they are sensitive, and we welcome them. That is why, therefore, we have been saying to the government that even those people that must go with in the mountains must be those that have undergone initiation there, because there are secrets there. You should not know what is actually happening there unless you have been there. And even if you are there, you are not allowed to say to anybody else because there are secrets. That is why, therefore, many men, you will find that then they can be trusted and they are really legends. That is why in the Eastern Cape, of course, were called province of legends. Amongst other things is because we have produced legends through initiation of boys to manhood, and we were proud about that. So there's no issue about that. Fortunately,
are you saying you're producing legends there by the mountains?
Oh yes, no doubt about it. No question about that.
Surely,
not only they can even tell you that we even initiate women through, of course, their initiation of girls to womanhood.
Okay.
That's why even our women are very, very strong and powerful.
What?
Because it is in terms of the custom of us. Fortunately, in the Eastern Cape, we have got all nations there, and each nation follow its own tradition. And
okay, let me ask you, because I want to go to Dr. Tlailani in a moment. But the reason why I was asking is because I want to understand those medical practitioners. Now, let's call them medical doctors that come through universities. I'm not talking about traditional doctors here. Are they allowed to play an active role while they were at the initiation schools, or are they there in the background in case there's a need for their services? Is there a role that has been assigned to them or that is permissible for them to play? I think is what I'm talking, especially using their training. So, for example, you mentioned, Nkosi Nongonyana, that you, in terms of the agreement that you reached with government, you have agreed that initiates should go through medical checks. Is this the role then that such doctors would play? Is that where they get involved?
100%. All of them, irrespective. You can go to a woman, you can go to a man, initiated or not. It's fine, but that doctor must actually give a certificate.
Okay.
And to make sure that this boy is fit and to undergo. And
Okay.
it has helped us a lot in that regard. But where we are sensitive is where they are there. Fortunately, and as I say, we do have a group of doctors who know that it is their responsibility to save this custom, because they know the value of this custom themselves.
All right.
And they help. And again, there is training of traditional surgeons as well as traditional nurses by these doctors. And the Department of Health is helping us a great deal. There are NGOs also that are actually helping us to make sure that utensils that are being used will be cleaned and this thing, and then they are certificated in that regard. So we have no problem, and we value that. But, yes.
Yeah, I want to bring in Dr. Tlailani, who's been waiting patiently. And thank you so much for indulgence there, Dr. Tlailani. Let me ask you this from a medical point of view. What kind of, when these deaths have often happened in the initiation schools, it's been said it's been either due to, dehydration has been a big one that has been flagged, but it's also been, of course, where there's, in the worst case scenario, where it's a botched circumcision, in other words, where it results in a mutilation, and in a worst case scenario, resulting in an amputation. Now, in order to prevent such, I'm wondering when Chief Nonkoyana is talking about, a checkup that initiates would have to go through with a doctor before they can attend initiation schools. What would be the sort of things that such a checkup would be looking out for?
Thank you very much, Titi. And then thanks to the chief who really sent him off concerning the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa. Just to clarify something, I'm not sure if there are doctors who are allowed by the Health and Professional Council to participate in the practice of going to the initiation school unless they are doing it at their own risk.
Mm.
But that being said, it is my thinking that this contralaser should be regulated by the government, and I'm not sure if there is that regulation.
Mm.
Because if this initiation school were regulated, I don't think we would have had so many deaths that we have had before. Like, if I were to compare the initiation school and our conventional circumcisions that we do here, we've got close to 0 deaths, but they've got so much deaths inside there. I'm not trying to compare the two, but the things that, to come back to your question, the things that we really check is the weight of the child, the general health, whether it's well hydrated, the state of blood, the blood state, meaning is there enough red blood cells? Because we know that when they're going to be cut, they will bleed, and then will they be able to recap or gain the blood that they have lost so that they don't become dehydrated or run weak. And then you also check the sugar levels, because sometimes I'm told that they can go for some days without food or something like that. And then if the sugar levels, they started off the whole initiation with low sugars, then the outcome of the patient is going to be bad. So those are generally the things that we look at, and especially the weight, the hydration, and anemia.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of from your side of things, Dr. Nkosi Nonkonyan, when a young man presents themselves, for the initiation school, presumably they will have to present you with this, with a certificate. Once they are there, though, should there be any kind of complications or whatever, where an initiate shows signs of ill health, to varying degrees, maybe some serious, some less serious? How do you treat medical situations while the initiates are out there? At what point, for example, will an initiate be sent to a hospital?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, I must just be honest to you. We don't want to associate our initiates with hospitals at all. That is why, therefore, we must make sure that before they enter, they undergo a thorough check. And that doctors must actually do that and submit a certificate. If that initiate will need this and that medication, we have said, we had a problem in future. They have been called names, those initiates, but as traditional leaders, respecting the right to life, the constitution of this country, and the right of the initiates to dignity, we said they must be allowed, they must not be unfairly discriminated. And we are succeeding that because we have got that persuasive authority.
They must be allowed to consult doctors, is that what you say? Like go to the hospitals?
No.
Oh.
They must be allowed to have their own medication there. If they're given the medication by the doctor, right? Within the initiation.
Okay.
But if there's a complication that is there, fortunately, we then enlist the services of the doctors. Those that into the mountain, I would put the mountain in inverted commas.
Yes.
In other words, to the initiation school, and they do help us. In extreme cases, we fortunately in this case, because they are sensitive, they set aside certain wards and where they will treat those that will need treatment there, and that is why this partnership between us and our government through the Department of Health are very helpful, and they do have they set aside even vehicles, and that in some instances will be used to transport these initiates that have got challenges there. So we have no qualms, in other words, to enlist and solicit the assistance from medical doctors to save the life of the initiates should anything go bad in a view to save their lives, of course.
Okay. Let me also bring in some callers who have been on hold. You can call us, by the way, on 0861 987 000 as we are looking ahead, if you like. We're talking about now that initiation season is upon us, normally in winter months. In some parts of the country, that is when the initiation schools are held. Hasn't always been like that, as we learned from Chief Nonkonyana. But let me speak to Sizwe in East London. Sizwe, good evening.
Titi kunjani bhuti?
Ndiphilile unjani dad?
Ndirayi bhuti mani ndisemdantsane.
Okay.
But I'm from the village of Chata village in Kaiskamahuko. I just want to make two examples about Mdantsane and my village. Here in Mdantsane, we see reports of these young ones die there. The only problem here in Mdantsane, Titi, these boys, they go there at a young age. 12 years, 13, 14, 15 to 17. And that age is not allowed because it starts to 18 years. And the reason why it is happening here, there in the bushes or there in the mountains, there are these guys, I can call that name, of the traditional surgeon. If your son has got an iPhone at the age of 14 years, when it's a season of initiation school, he's going to sell that phone. Then take that money, he's going to take some other roads to go to the bush. Then he's going to carry that money to give the guy who's going to circumcise him without your knowledge as a parent. Then you stay 2 days, 3 days. If you don't see your son, then you're going to go to the initiation school and search for him, and you're going to find him there. At some stage, you'll find them at a bad stage. I'm talking about something that I've seen here. A 12-year-old, and that boy in 2019, he couldn't make it because he went there. It was winter. Then he caught pneumonia. Then when he came back 3 months, then he died. You see. So what I'm trying to say here in Tanzania, there is no laws here, and there are rumors here that there are traditional surgeons who are well known, who are selling these papers of Department of Health. If your boy had gone there without your knowledge, when as a parent you're gonna go to that guy and buy a paper so that the officials, when they are going to check there, they see your son he has a paper, but he went there without your knowledge. You see, we call it ukuziba. Chief will know that. Then let me go back to my village in Kaiskamahuko, Kata village. We have never ever seen any mkweta who's coming from the mountain or go to a hospital, or we have never seen any death. Because TT, if it's December, we've got 25 boys who are going to go to the mountain. We know that number is going to be 25. There will be no 26 or there will be no 27. Because it's a village. We know a boy from the household. We know a boy. You see what I'm talking about.
I hear you.
So yes, because they and TT, Chief, I beg to differ with him. I'm gonna make an example about myself. 2004, I went there on the 25th of June. Then I came back on the 19th of July. Winter is a better season to take your son to the initiation school. But the reason why it's not happening is because many of parents, they are working in Johannesburg, Cape Town, so they get bonuses in December, and also they get holidays in December. So they decide to take their kids to initiation school because of the time. But in summer it's hot. That's why the dehydration is taking place. Tina, we never drank water, TT. I'm talking about myself. The water that is still there, it's water that is mixed with mud. When you see that water, it's brown. That water, and you don't even have an appetite to drink it. You just gargle with that water, then you swallow that piece. You see, it makes the healing come easy, but the weather conditions in winter, they are better than summer. Mountains there in Keskamogo.
All right. Sizwe, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing, by the way. I really appreciate that.
Right.
I'm going to get the Chief to comment and also get Dr. Tlailani to comment. Mandla in Cape Town, thank you for holding. Go ahead.
Yeah, Titi. To Chief Umwela Nokonyane, he's saying that initiation and circumcision there's a secret there on the mountain and stuff like that. I mean, what secret is there? There's no secret in circumcision. All the tribes, or some tribes here in the country, are doing circumcision. The Jewish people also are doing circumcision in their own way. I mean, what is the secret? Because circumcision is a medical process. So if you are a medical doctor, there's no way that you can be told before you attend to circumcision. You must have gone initiation yourself. There's
but
no such a thing.
Hang on. Let me just jump in here, Mandla. I'm sure you'll appreciate that initiation schools and all that happens there, and I'm speaking purely, I'm not speaking as an authority, but it's not my understanding that it's not just about circumcision. That's not all that happens at initiation schools. That is just but a part of the process.
Yeah.
So, and that is why you will hear, the chief referring to secrets about there are other things that happen there which are only known to people who have been there,
No, there's no such a thing.
What do you mean when you say there's no such a thing?
There's no secret there, TT. What is done there is just to nurse the wound that has been because you have been cut there.
Right.
You nurse the wound. There's no secret there. I mean, if you are sick as a man, 60-year-old man, 70-year-old man, you go to hospital, and the nurses there, female nurses, they attend to, they wash you, they wash your penis, and all that. You show it to them. You don't hide it. As a Xhosa man, there's this thing of you cannot show your penis to the boys because they haven't circumcised, because you must hide it to them.
Mandla.
There's no basis to that.
Okay. By the way, are you speaking from somebody who's been through this?
I've been to circumcision. Okay. I was 21 years old when I circumcised. Okay. And there's no secret in there.
Okay, Mandla. All
and
right.
There's nothing that you are taught as a man when you are in circumcision school.
Okay,
there's
Mandla.
Nothing that I learned from there
Okay, Mandla, sorry to cut you off because we are going up to news time now. Thank you both to both Chief Nonkonyana and Dr. Tlailani for staying with us a little bit longer than we had actually asked them to. Dr. Tlailani, I want to come to you just in terms from a medical point of view. Given the circumstances around which, initiates as the initiation process happens, where the initiates stay and all of that, the conditions, is there indeed a preference from a medical point of view whether indeed it would be better, as one of the callers was saying, that winter is actually better for healing and, than summer when the heat leads to a lot of infection? Can you weigh in on that?
Well, let me come in, then say, to circumcise, that is to cut that skin. I don't think it's dependent on the temperature of the climate. It all depends on the standard of operation procedures that they're subjected to. Whoever cuts there. If you practice sterile and non-septic procedures, then you shouldn't get infections or anything, whether it's summer or winter. So I don't think the temperature really makes a difference. And then I would have asked the chief that because we have seen so many deaths, I know, it's June. We are going to receive patients from the initiation school to come and, fix them for whatever, dehydration, sepsis, hemorrhage, and whatever. So if they could agree that the initiates could come to the hospital or go and see a general practitioner, let him do the circumcision. It takes about 7 to 8 days to heal. And then after healing, then go to the mountain, to the initiation school. Once you are subjected to bleeding or dehydration with a wound, which is septic, your chances of survival are very slim. So if they could understand, the contralesa could at least accept the initiates to go first to the hospital, be circumcised, and then go to the initiation school for learning those rituals and customs and all that. That will help a lot because whatever is happening there, I don't know what's really happening. I know the chief was saying they're taking all the precautionary measures, but I don't understand. They still get the deaths and morbidities.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
But I don't think temperature plays a role.
Or weather conditions make a role.
No,
okay.
It doesn't.
Right. Let me ask Chief. We've had at least a couple of our callers, at least 2 of our callers, have both mentioned the issue of age. That you've got way too many young boys that are going to initiation school while they're too young in age. What is the practice, from traditionally in terms of what is the right age at which young men are expected to undergo the initiation rites, and why that age in particular?
Yes. Well, thanks. Let me start with you. In the Eastern Cape, we differ in terms of the custom. Many are of the view that at least the man must about 18 and above. As a direct result of that, the act that was passed in the Eastern Cape make provision for 18 and above. We had consulted extensively around that. But in the same Eastern Cape, you'll find that in Matatiele areas, the Sotho people, they were of the view that no, 16 and above. And but in South Africa, they are different. It is in terms of custom. That is why we were loath when the government wanted to enact a legislation, because we're saying this differs. For instance, in the Eastern Cape, we've got many nations. They differ. But generally, we agreed about 18, and of course, we tolerated about 16, but although in Madrid we were under pressure. But in South Africa, for instance, in Limpopo, it is well established there that boys must be initiated. I'm avoiding the question of the circumcision that my colleague and his supporter want us to take. We're not there in that school.
That's not his supporter. It was just another listener. I mean,
yes, sorry. Another listener who supported you. Let me put it that way. And that is another school. This is not the school that we promote. This is not the school that we believe in. And we believe that the boys that have undergone circumcision school remain boys. And therefore they cannot be accredited as men. And that is why, therefore, we must be sensitive about the cultural practices. Because in Limpopo, it works for them because they said you must catch them before they are sexually active. And with us, we must catch them they're just about to receive adulthood and get married. That is a difference, but that is a cultural difference, nothing else. But if you go deep into it, the national standard is the same. And that's one. Two, in respect of circumcision and initiation of boys to manhood, we're talking chalk and cheese. It's not the same thing. And initiation, we are talking about, we reserved for Oma, for instance, in Mpumalanga. And we said in Eastern Cape, Ulwaluko. That's the thing. But if you interpret it, you'll find that, for instance, Ulwaluko is a question of is weaving. But it tells you that something secret is happening there. That is why I wanted to address that issue. Because people, they think, especially the caller from Cape Town, if I heard him correctly,
yes,
Umanda,
yes,
and saying, no, there's nothing secret about it. He's not talking about our initiation. He's talking about his circumcision, which is part of the national medical circumcision process. You see, that has nothing to do with us. If he comes to our area, he'll be treated like boys. Okay. I can tell you that. But Sizwe is quite correct, and that's exactly you can hear a man who has been initiated by what he says without even instructing whatever. You can say, "Now I'm talking to a man." That is a man. Although he said he's not agreeing with me, but you find that he told us that he went on the 25th of June and he came back on 19th of July.
Yes.
The point I was making that, for instance, now you check the winter holidays there. We want that exactly. That's what we want in the Eastern Cape, because we even us a man is limela zako zingapi. Inyanga limela ke we know it is June. You get what I mean? Which means therefore that. Which means therefore that that's what we need to happen. And again, he's talking about what is actually happening around Umdanza. And it's quite correct, because there you find Amapuma along the highway, and you find Amapuma next to their nappies that are there, and you find them, they even killed an innocent woman coming from the church there. You see? But hence we had intervened both as a house and Contralesa there, and now we do have a structure working with the municipality to address the issue.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have to cut in there and leave it there because we are out of time. It sounds as if this is definitely a discussion we may need to revisit at another time. But for now, I must just thank you for your time and your patience this evening. Thank you so much, and for staying on a bit longer.
No, we must thank you very much, and thank listeners. I must thank also my colleague, and that we are open as Contralesa to further engagement on this matter, because to us, we want our initiates to be initiated in terms of custom and obeying the laws, so that all of them, they go there alive and come back home alive, and men that can wear the name. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That is Nkosi Mwelo Nonkonyana, chairperson of Contralesa in the Eastern Cape. Dr. Abel Tailani, I must thank you as well for sharing your insights and perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Titi.
There you go, Dr. Abel Tlailani, general practitioner.